I'm gonna get a lint thing. I'll be right back.
Alright.
Make sure he stays.
He'll follow you back in. Oh, you got both of them now.
Damn it.
Oh, my life, I prayed for someone like you.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3, and today we're going to be facing off our favorite video game franchises.
It was almost, well, they both have kind of zombie games, but as we talked
themes.
Zombie themes. But as we talked about it, we realized that they're kind of our favorite games overall. So, zombie versus zombie,
My
game
zombie versus
game.
your zombie.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Do you want to go first?
I can. Well, my favorite game / series is The Last of Us, which I believe is just a PlayStation exclusive. And
You should
yours?
look that up.
It is. I'm almost like 98% positive it's a PlayStation exclusive.
Okay. And mine is the Resident Evil franchise, which hopefully people are familiar with because they have video games and a ton of movies. I think there's also comic books or something, but I haven't read those.
It's been around for a long time.
Yes.
Where mine's been around for about almost 10 years. I think like 7 or 8.
Okay. Mine debuted in 1996.
Ooh.
I had it on PlayStation 1 then, and I just holed up in my bedroom and scared the bejeez out of myself because it was super creepy, and it's a survival horror video game with a lot of puzzles you have to solve and a lot of jump scares there too. So that's probably when I started.
Started it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, The Last of Us, I stumbled upon it at Best Buy because they were advertising that it had won the Game of the Year award. And I knew nothing about it, but I'm like, okay, well, won the Game of the Year award, let's try it out.
It's good enough for Keen.
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with it right away. It hooks you immediately with the prologue. You follow Joel and his daughter at the very beginning of... They don't ever say zombies. I think maybe it's hinted at, but they always say infected. Right? You played the game a couple times. And I feel like they always said infected.
Yeah, they never say zombies.
They never say the word zombies. And you start off as Joel. Actually, it's kind of a spoiler, but the game's been around for almost 10 years.
Okay,
so
well, spoiler alert if you
spoiler
haven't
alert.
played Last of Us.
Or The Last of Us 2. This whole thing, I'm going to go...
Yeah, he's going to go into it,
both
so.
games.
I guess also spoiler alert for me.
For all the
as well,
Resident
for
Evil
Resident
games.
Evil games.
Yeah. So the first one, the prologue starts off, you're Joel, you're 30 years old, you have a daughter that's, I think, 12 or 13, infected or just taken over in Texas, and it's just complete chaos, and it ends with them almost escaping, but they're held up by a soldier who accidentally shoots both of them and kills his daughter. And then it's just 20 years later. So now you're like seeing the impacts of how he has adapted without his daughter, how he's lived in this whole infected world, and it hooks you right from that starting point.
Okay, so that's a pretty strong opening. We're talking 1996 is when the video game debuted, and obviously the graphics weren't fully there. The voiceover actors are super cheesy. It actually opens with...
Jill Sandwich.
It actually opens with a live action... there's actually like real people that are playing these characters, and it's cheesy, but it's also very funny. And then you get into the game, and then you're actually playing video game as video game characters. But I liked it because it had 2 different playable characters, and obviously like there's a couple of different outcomes depending on, or scenarios depending on which one you decide to choose. And again, just very creepy and lots of puzzles, and I spent a lot of time
I feel like I'm going to win this
playing
episode
this.
again.
No way. Why?
I just.
So that's just starting off with the very first video game.
Why don't you go a little bit further into the series?
Okay, basically that defined the survival horror video game genre. Like that was the beginning of it. There wouldn't really be a Last of Us if there was no original Resident Evil game.
Like the first one was good. It set a really high bar, and feels like they never really got past that high bar.
They did. So, they had the first game, then they had a couple of games after that that followed the same formula. And then they kind of moved away from that survival horror puzzle to more action. So there was, I want to say Resident Evil 5 and 6 was more just like a shooting game.
So you don't count those. Those are actually 5 was cool because it was multiplayer.
It was co-op. It was couch co-op.
Couch co-op.
And we're always looking for couch co-op games to play.
Both play.
Yeah. So I mean, as bad as they were, it was at least fun to go through with you. So they dropped down in quality.
Each one drops down, I feel like, a little bit more.
Right.
Even though like they have more graphics, they have more, like the consoles get better, so you have more capabilities.
They just took a wrong turn into more action and
5?
more bullets and what?
Resident Evil 5, you have a steroid Chris just punching a rock.
Oh yeah, Boulder. That's heavily criticized. But you know what? Like I said, so that was their down point where they just got off track.
So when did they get back on track?
Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, which is actually a first-person view.
Both of them, the last two.
Well, I'm just on 7.
Just on 7, and then the follow, because you said 7 Village.
Well, that's the turning point. So Resident Evil 7 is the turning point where it gets really good.
Hold on, I just want to clarify. Resident Evil 7, and then Resident Evil 8 is known as the Village, because you made it sound like Resident Evil 7 Village.
I'm so sorry. Resident Evil 7 is Biohazard.
Oh, they're both Biohazard, isn't it?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, so anywho, so Resident Evil 7 is Biohazard, and that's when they really got their stuff together. They went to a first-person view, and then they also made it more survival horror, more puzzles.
VR.
Oh God, yeah, but I couldn't do it. One, because of how scary it is, and two, I would just get nauseated.
I will take over now and
I've been
catch up
talking
on
a lot of Resident Evil.
No, it's you were supposed to talk more because you have. What did you say? 13 games? Yeah, you've been around for 30 years. Where mine have only 2 games, and they've only been around for like 7 or 8 years. They're still new, but I have extremely high hopes for them. Like I said, the first game won the Game of the Year award, and so I hardly ever play a game twice. I can name most of them, I think, within 1 or 2 hands. There's only one game that I played 3 times. That's Red Dead Redemption 2. And then I played The Last of Us 6 times. That's how much I loved this game. And part of it is it's not just a game, it feels like an experience. The storyline is so phenomenal. It goes on to progress where you're 20 years later as Joel, him and his, they're friends with benefits that go around kind of stealing stuff and bartering with other people, and they come upon this person that they sometimes barter with, who's in head of the Fireflies, which is a whole rebellious group, and she has 12, 13-year-old girl with her who's
not related to.
Not related to anyone, but essentially the same age that Joel, the main character's daughter that passed away. They find out eventually that she is immune to the affected disease and that they want to test her blood. So now you have to move from Boston all the way to Colorado. And find the Firefly so you can test why her blood's immune. And it is freaky, it's scary, but then the storyline is amazing. There's some games I play and I just skip dialogue. I can't, no, boring. But this one, I played it 6 times and I watch the dialogue every time because it's so good. It's basically playing in one of the best movies that you could ever play in, and it's just a full experience.
It is, yeah, I would agree. It is a full experience. I do like how they have not an upgraded, not evolved either, devolved, infected / zombie.
Yeah,
clickers.
they do it different, and I think that's part of the reason why they never used the word zombie. They wanted to stick with infected, and you have the first phase where you're bit and you're kind of tweaking out, and
you still look like a person.
You still look like a person.
Yeah.
You got some like deformities,
Gross stuff going on.
The second phase, they're called the clickers, and they're extremely aggressive. They can't see, so they go by sound, and they're kind of like bats.
Spores all over there.
Yeah, spores all over their face, covering their eyes, and you just hear, I can't click. I'm trying. But if you hear the clicks and you like poop your pants, like, oh, there's a clicker.
It is intense.
Yeah. And then you got the big bloaters that have been infected for months to years that are just these giant infected guys that take pretty much all your ammo. Oh, ammo is extremely hard to come by.
They take all your ammo?
You have to
take all your health.
No, like it takes all your ammo to kill one of these things.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So you have to calculate if you want to go in there guns a-blazing or try to be quiet and preserve your ammo.
Oh, that's another thing that is nice about your game is that like you can sneak around. However, the sneaking around is the thing that gives me the most anxiety because you don't know if they're going to sense you or see you. And then same with just people in the world in that video game. Like,
oh yeah, you're facing off other people too. It's not just zombies. It's
just like regular people that like want your loot or want
to eat you. There's you stumble upon a village that just eats people.
Cannibals.
That's part one, and I feel like.
So I've played part one. I did enjoy it as well.
You played it twice, I think, didn't you?
I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it is a lot of fun to play. But I would say that coming back to the Resident Evil, how they've come back around with first Resident Evil 7, Biohazard. They also remade Resident Evil 2, which I pre-ordered, stood out in like the cold winter to get it like midnight or something. That's how excited I was.
January, and we were temporarily living in Wisconsin, and it was, we call it the polar vortex. Mm-hmm. She had us waiting. Well, you were in the car. I was in the car.
I went into GameStop with all the rest of the nerds, like, is it ready yet? So, like, I was super excited for that. They did a remake. They executed it perfectly. I loved it.
Remastered is what they call it.
They did a remaster. It was so much fun. They did the same for Resident Evil 3, which not as great. I think they kind of rushed through it, but still not a big deal because they still had Resident Evil 7 on, put that on their belt, and then they had Resident Evil 2, which did really, really well. And then Resident Evil 8, which is Village, which just came out, which...
Well, it came out last
year. I mean, that's pretty recent compared to any of our video games that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And this still follows kind of the same protagonist that we had in Resident Evil 7. But there's like 4 different bad guys that you're fighting, and each bad guy has their own thing. Like the first one is kind of like a swamp guy, like a bloated guy, and
they get back to like the puzzles too.
Yeah, there's more puzzles in that.
They kind of focus back to like what made it so the first one so popular.
Yeah, there's a creepy doll in like one section that you go in, you lose everything. You have no ammunition, you have no health, you have nothing in your whole artillery or whatever, and you just have to go in and like hide from all the spooky stuff that is happening. And then you have like the main big bad, so you have like a 5th big bad, and then there's a twist at the end. So that was fun. I couldn't play it at night. I couldn't play it without you. Like, it's too creepy. It's too scary. I think I tried to get you to play it.
I played 8 a little bit. I played 7 all the way through.
You did, yeah.
7 I enjoyed way more. There was aspects that did freak me out. I remember
of 7 or 8?
7. There was that little kid. And turns off all the lights. Or is that the doll thing? Well, the doll was 8, but
Yeah.
7 was, there was like that little kid and it just starts like, what? And then the lights went up, I'm like, screw this kid. I don't want to do this anymore. And I try to get you to play the part. You're like, no, you got to play this part.
I think I do remember that, yeah.
So that probably was one of the freakiest parts I've ever played in
I
any
don't think
game.
you've had that with your Last of Us, where you're like, nuh-uh, I gotta get out.
Yeah, I'm done. I don't do possessed kids because, I don't know, they're easier to have demons take over their bodies, I think.
That's a whole nother
video
conversation.
We'll
but
discuss if kids have demons in them.
But so yeah, they came back with that last year. That did really well, and now they're coming out with a Resident Evil 4
Which is another
remake.
remaster.
Yeah,
See,
remaster. But that was Resident Evil 4 was just as, if not more, popular than the original Resident Evil.
I guess I've never played it or seen you play it. I remember watching you play 2 and 3, and I was just like...
No, number 4 is like such a turning point. I probably should have mentioned that earlier in the video, but like 1, the OG, 4, like they really, really did a good job. And then 5, 6, they teeter, they go down, and then bring it back up with 7. Again, did well with 8, did well with the remake number 2. And I think a lot they did do a good job with the remake.
I'll give you
the
1.
Second remake.
I'll give you 7. 1 and 7.
That's only because.
And I'll give you the OG. I guess we'll see when 4 comes out and when you play it. I still think The Last of Us is better because when I started talking about the storyline, I started talking about the gameplay.
Go ahead with the Last of Us number 2 though, because I didn't even play that.
Yeah, it was tough. I think now that some time's passed around, I've learned to enjoy it more. They took a risk. Anytime someone takes an artistic risk, I will always support, because anyone can do like what Resident Evil did, where you just kind of take one but make little tweaks here and there. Last of Us 2 thought, hey, let's try to do something completely different, and what they do...
It's because it was a female protagonist.
No, I actually liked Ellie. I love Ellie.
No.
Abby. It's who everyone hates is Abby. Koto for Abby. So you play the first game as Joel, and you play a little bit as Ellie. And then the second game, you play a little bit as Joel, and then you start playing more as Ellie. Mm-hmm. And then this Abby character comes along and kills Joel pretty early on in the game. And then Ellie's just set on revenge. And then you play over the first half of the game, just getting revenge as Ellie. And then, out of nowhere, you rewind 3 or 4 days. Actually, I think it's a week. And then you start playing as Abby, the character that killed Joel. And that really pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah, to get, I guess, sympathy for that character, so that you can feel something for her.
Yeah, it made sense, like, to show that what seems like a bad person could be a good person, and that everyone's just trying to survive in this crazy world. So artistically, like I said, it was a very creative risk, and I appreciate that. And I think they could have done it a smidge better, and people would have loved this game even more than the first one.
How could they have made it better?
I think if we got to play as Abby before she killed Joel, and got to see more of her story, and feel connected with her, then when it came to the point where now Abby's about to get revenge on Joel, then you become conflicted. You'd be like, well, I understand why she's doing it now, but Joel's the guy that I loved in the first game. What do I do?
You know what they should have done? One of those, what are they called? The packs that comes after the original game?
Oh, DLCs?
Yeah, they should have done that up until, like, have you play as her up until, like, a certain point.
Not everyone gets those packs, though. So I think they would have had to reorganize how you played the game. And I think if you played...
But who would have been drawn in as if the first character of a beloved video game is someone you don't even know?
Well, you still set it up as you play as Joel and Ellie, like you do in the beginning, and then maybe you cut to Abby a little bit more.
So you're saying bring Abby in
sooner.
Okay.
Get to see her storyline, find out that Joel killed her dad, and then you feel a little bit more sympathy for her. You can connect with Abby.
Yeah.
The problem was that we didn't get to know anything about Abby until after she killed this beloved character from the first part of the game.
Yeah.
So by the time you're playing her, you go, I don't want to play her. Not only do you not want to play her, but you played the first half game as Ellie, trying to get revenge on her. So you're already...
Not only that, you've built a rapport, not a rapport, but you've built this relationship with Joel and Ellie in the first game, and then you're...
Yeah, so, like, it's understandable that you are connected to the original characters and that you're going to show that side, but people could have easily been on Abby's side as well if they would have just tweaked the writing a smidge more so we got some more time with her. And then I think it would have been a real interesting conflict of, oh man, I see why Abby's doing this. Can I kill Joel? Like, Abby deserves her revenge. But instead it was kind of like too late. And it was tough. And then the whole Abby, a quarter for Abby, is that Abby collects these state quarters that were really popular like 20 years ago. And I think part of that too is the old saying of, what's the same side of, or what's it?
I don't know.
Two sides of a coin, or what's that called? That old saying. Same side of the coin. Two sides of the same coin.
Oh, two sides of the same coin.
That's
yes,
it. Yeah. Two sides of the same coin. So I think that's why they had her collecting quarters to be kind of like...
Symbolism.
And then...
Well, because I think the reason you started saying that was because, like, you would see something shiny on the ground, and that would either indicate that there was something, like there
ammo,
for you. Yeah, something. But he'd get there and it'd be like just a quarter.
A quarter for Abby. And also at that point, like, I didn't want to play as Abby because I'm just like...
He tried to suicide himself as Abby
a few times.
Several times. Like walking off a cliff or
just
like...
throwing a grenade down at my feet and blowing myself up.
Yeah.
But it felt good, though.
Are there any other games slated for Last of Us?
No. But... You talked about film and TV. The Last of Us TV show coming out next year, and I am super pumped for it because HBO is dropping millions and millions of dollars on this, and when like HBO commits to something like House of Dragons, which is really popular now, when they invest in a TV show all out like this, that means it's going to get the publicity, it's going to be good. And I feel confidence that it's going to be well written and, I don't know, somewhat similar to the game. So those who don't play video games or that just want to learn about the storyline, I feel like they could watch the TV show and fall in love with it.
Yeah, for sure.
And what also helps is the casting. They got Pedro Pascal as
love me
Joel.
Pedro Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, why do you love him so much?
Because he's the man.
I was going to say, I know why I love him.
You got a crush on Pedro?
No, he's just like universally beloved.
Exactly, universally beloved. He's extremely talented. I'm not even going to list all of his credits. Just go to IMDb and you'll find at least a handful.
He's good. He's good if you don't know.
Actually, and who I was going to say who plays Ellie was on the same show as Pedro Pascal. They didn't work together, but they both were on Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. What they call her is Lady Mormont, the Bear Queen, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yep. She'll be playing Ellie, and she was fantastic in Game of Thrones. Yeah. She had that edge to her, which you need as Ellie. I'm excited. I'm excited
for the TV show as well, just because of everything you said. And, I mean, I've yet to see... The TV shows that I have seen on HBO, I got to see like a really bad one or
when they commit
poorly
to it,
executed or anything like that. So Resident Evil, I will say that just bringing it back to the original 1996 one.
No, we're talking movies and TV.
And that's what I'm getting into, that there's a lot of people that say that Resident Evil and how big it was brought zombies back into pop culture in the 2000s.
Okay.
So because of that, you got a lot of movies like with Dawn of the Dead and, I'm trying to think of all the zombie
Shaun
movies.
of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead, equally as good. But yeah, like a ton of zombie movies
28
kind of
days
came.
later.
Yeah, I was like, Sandra Bullock. He's really scared of Sandra Bullock. 28 days later and 28 weeks later. So yeah, so that I feel like is a huge thing to bring up, that they really brought them back into pulp culture scene. As far as the movies, I remember when the first movie came out with Mila Jovovich, And it was okay. It's out of the whole series of that one, it was probably the best one, which isn't saying a lot.
So it's like the games, or the first one. Oh, the first movie wasn't that. It was all right. It had some
It
good,
was
cool
all
moments.
right, yeah.
But yeah, it's like the video games, where the first one's like, oh.
I think it disappointed in a lot of aspects, specifically being that they didn't really stay super true to the video game. They introduced a whole new character that's not in any of the video games. Like, they had obviously aspects of the video game, but it just wasn't there. So I remember seeing it, and I was like, that's not really what it was.
Your disgust face makes it's
so I'm just saying,
over.
so the first one was okay, and then the next, I don't even know how many movies
Your
were there.
face
There was
is
like
just betraying you right now.
There was like 5 movies of that specific
franchise
that they just, the rest, it just keeps going downward. They did have a recent Netflix show, which
got canceled.
I know, it got canceled. I didn't mind it. I liked the different take that they had on it.
Wait, what'd you just say? You didn't mind it? That's not a great endorsement. I actually, there was some cool moments. We did watch it, and there was some cool moments. I think we both had higher hopes.
Yeah.
And that's what's also tough when you are passionate about a certain project. That's why I'm hoping I'm not jinxing the Last of Us TV show, because I have such high hopes for it. And so in love with the video game.
I think it'll at least start strong, if anything. There was also a recent Resident Evil movie that came out that we went to the theaters to see because...
You had to bribe me. It was pretty good.
Welcome to Raccoon City. I felt like that was more true to the games. I liked it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's
For
closer
sure.
to the games.
I've talked about the games so much, even though you haven't played them as much, that you knew like the characters, and then anything that he didn't know, like I filled him in on. Yeah. So I thought that was probably my favorite movie, even though it didn't do well.
I think, if you're a fan of the video games, definitely check out that movie. You'll have a much more appreciation for that.
Yeah. I feel like it's going so well right now for Resident Evil since 7, 8, got the 4 reboot, which is going to be phenomenal. Like, you're going to be super highly impressed.
I'll be impressed, but I think at the end of the day, The Last of Us wins.
No, I think it's Resident Evil for sure, because it's the OG.
Just because you're the OG doesn't make you the best. Like, you pay respects. Thank you for what you created and started. But now something new and better is here.
I didn't even play the second one.
So there's so many Resident Evil games I didn't play.
That's because you don't really play them.
Exactly. I played 7. I played 5 and 6 because we played together.
You played 7, and then you freaked out and dropped the controllers because you were scared.
For one
because
part,
of the little kids.
Don't bring little kids. I don't like little kids. Actually, I don't mind kids.
It's a testament to how good they did.
I don't like when kids sing and start giggling in the dark because I don't know what the hell they're doing.
I don't know.
Some little kids have shark eyes, and that's freaky.
I don't know what shark eyes. Oh, dead eyes?
Dead eyes.
Anyway, and you've not done that with any of the video games that you were truly scared of. So
yeah,
I think,
but I think the fact that you're looking forward to The Last of Us is because they have such a great storyline. And a lot of times when you play games, you go and you play and you have fun, which you do have a lot of fun playing the gameplay, both of them. Like, even if you don't like the second game's storyline as much, it's still a fun game to play. But they have a phenomenal storyline on top of an awesome gameplay. So it's like this awesome 1-2 punch. And I think that's why The Last of Us beats Resident Evil.
It doesn't. Resident Evil has so many characters that like are intertwined between all of the video games. Like, it starts off like there's Alpha Team, there's Bravo Team, like Chris, Jill, Claire, Leon, Ada, and then the new guy, I keep forgetting his name because he was in 7 and 8.
Ethan.
Yes, Ethan.
It's embarrassing that I know and you know.
I'm so used to the regular characters that, like, I don't think of Ethan as much. But, like, they're, like, beloved characters. And granted, they don't have such a rich storyline, but the gameplay is fun. They dipped a little bit, but...
We'll call it a tie, even though you keep saying dip, making faces like this. And whatever. We'll call it a tie. Pugcam? Is it Pugcam?
Pugcam.
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 Welcome back from PugCam. Oh, I'm hosting now?
Yeah, I know. Well, you were talking. I just figured.
Okay. So we always like to end with something a little more fun. We're just going to do a quick little top 3 video game characters of all time. I'll start with my number 3. Sticking with The Last of Us, it's going to be Ellie. I think she's such a fun character. She's witty. She's got some strength to her.
She's scrappy.
She's intelligent. It's fun too because if you play the first one, she's a teenager, and then the second one, it fast forwards. I think she's like a young adult. So it's kind of cool to see her advance in this crazy world. You're kind of growing up with her, which is really fun to see where it goes. And I hope when they do a part 3 that they still focus on her, because I know there's some rumors that they would just go with all sorts of new characters. I was like, no, don't get rid of Ellie.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
I mean, there's always rumors, but I think they're really early in the development stages.
Okay.
So hopefully they keep Ellie as a main focal point, because she's my number 3.
Okay. So my number 3 is going to be Nathan Drake from Uncharted. That's the Uncharted series is fun. It is, I mean, I feel like you can, is it that you build a lot of weapons, or you just find weapons with Nathan?
You find weapons, you're treasure hunting. It's like
Yeah, it's a lot of treasure hunting, so I find that fun. I think of like Tomb Raider, like Lara Croft.
It's the same people that do The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. Naughty Dog. So definitely was a huge fan of that series as well, and Nathan Drake.
Yeah, and I don't play a ton of different genres of video games, so Uncharted was definitely a nice surprise, and I really enjoyed playing as Nathan Drake.
Cool. My number 2 is Waluigi. Yeah, because think about it. You got Mario, is the kind of popular kid in school, and then you have his nerd friend Luigi. He has Bowser and Wario who's stealing his image. But Waluigi actively decides, no, I'm just going to mess with Luigi, the nerd sidekick. Like, it's the funniest troll of all time.
And he does pick Waluigi in all the Mario games that we play.
Waluigi!
So, I'm surprised, but that's super fitting for you. My number 2 is going to be Leon S. Kennedy from the Resident Evil game.
Oh.
Actually, Resident Evil 4 specifically.
So you brought it back like I did.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, I didn't talk too much about Resident Evil 4 other than they really, after Resident Evil 1, it kind of really changed, and it was as good or better than the original. So if you're not familiar with it, wait for it to come out. Again, it is being rebooted, remastered, whatever, or rebooted.
Remastered.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's a good one, and I enjoyed playing as him.
Cool. My number 1, do you know it?
No.
Oh, Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2. Oh. No, Dutch. A lot of good people dying, Dutch.
I'm surprised you didn't choose Red Dead as your favorite video game, because you bought it and sold it to GameStop and traded it in.
We traded it in
like
when we got a PlayStation
3 times.
5, but then you can only play it on PlayStation 4. And I went, damn it, gotta go back and buy it again because I want to play it again. It's just, howdy, partner. You just play as a cowboy, and he's the ultimate cowboy who just cares about his gang. He just wants to do good by his gang. You play it, and you automatically go into your cowboy voice. Say, howdy, partner. Good day. Good day to you.
My number 1 is Mario.
The nerd. Or no, the popular jock. Luigi. Yeah, sorry, I messed that up.
Mario's just a plumber who just wants to save Princess Peach. And it's just, I don't know. You are, when we discussed this before, as far as like Sonic versus personality, Sonic versus Mario. I'm Mario. He's Sonic.
I feel like
that's more your speed.
If you want quality, but okay with how long it takes, you go with a little Mario here. If you want to get it done fast, but might have a little bit quality sacrifice, you go with Sonic here.
So yeah,
cool.
Good picks.
Good picks. And that's a wrap on episode 3. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.